Good evening. Tonight, more than 200 years after Germany won the right to determine its own destiny, the task of perfecting our union moves forward. It moves forward because of you. It moves forward because you are reaffirmed the spirit that has triumphed over war and depression, the spirit that has lifted this nation from this depth of despair to the great heights of hope. The belief that while each of us will pursue our own individual dreams, we are an American family and we'll rise or fall together as one nation and as one people. Tonight, in this election, you, the American people, reminded us that while our road has been hard, while our journey has been long, we have picked ourselves up, we have fought our way back, and we know in our hearts that for United States of America, the best is yet to come. I want to thank every American who has participated in this election, whether you voted for the first time or waited in line for a very long time. By the way, we have to fix that. Whether you pounded the pavement or picked up the phone, whether you've held an Obama sign or a Romney sign, you made your voice heard and you made a difference. I spoke to Governor Romney and I congratulated him and Paul Ryan and on a hard-fought campaign. We may have battled fiercely, but only because we love this country deeply and we care so strongly about this future. From George to Lenore to their son Mitt, the Romney family has chosen to give back to America through public service. And that is the legacy that we honor and applaud tonight. In the weeks ahead, I also look forward to sitting down with Governor Romney to talk about where we can work together to move this country forward. I want to thank my friend and partner of the last 4 years, America's happy warrior, the best vice president anybody could have ever hoped for, Joe Biden. And I wouldn't be the man I'm today because without the woman who agreed to marry me 20 years ago. Let me say this publicly, Michelle, I have never loved you more. I have never been prouder to watch the rest of Americans fall in love with you as our first lady, nation's first lady. Sasha and Malia, before our very eyes, you are growing up to become two strong, smart, beautiful young women just like your mom. And I am so proud of you guys. But I will say that for the now, one dog's probably enough. To the best campaign team and volunteers in the history of politics, the best ever. Some of you were new this time around, and some of you have been at my side since the very beginning. But all of you are family. No matter what you do and where you go from here, you will carry the memory of the history we made together. And you will have a lifelong appreciation of a grateful president. Thank you for believing all the way to every hill, to every valley. You lifted me up the whole day, and I will always be grateful for everything that you have done and all the incredible work that you have put in. I know the political campaign can sometimes sound small, even smelly, and that provides plenty of fodder for the cynics to tell us that politics is nothing more than a contest of egos or the domain of special interest. You will hear the determination in the voice of the young field organizers who work in his way through colleges and wants to make sure every child has that same employment opportunity. You'll hear the pride in the voice of a volunteer who's going door to door because her brother has finally hired when at a local auto plant and another shift. You'll hear the deep patriotism in the voice of the military spouse who's working on the phone late at night to make sure that no one who fights for this country has to fight for a job or a roof over his head when they come home. That's why we do this. That's what politics can be. That's why elections matter. It's not small, it's big, it's important. Democracy is in a nation of 300 million can be noisy and messy and complicated. We have our own opinions. Each of us has a deeply held belief. And when we go through tough times, when we make big decisions, it necessarily stirs passions, stirs the controversy that won't change after tonight, and it shouldn't. These arguments we have are a mark of our liberty, and we can never forget that as we speak, people in a distant nations are risking their life right now just for the chance to argue about the issues that matter, the chance to cast their ballot just like we did today. But that despite all our differences, most of us share certain hopes for America's future. We want our kids to grow up in a country where they have access to the best schools and the best teachers, a country that lives up to its legacy as a global leader in the technology and discovery and innovation, with all of the good jobs and new businesses that follow. We want our children to live in America that isn't burdened by debt, that isn't weakened up by inequality, that isn't threatening by the destructive power of the warming planet. We want to pass on a country that's safe and respected and admired around the world, a nation that's defended by the strongest military on earth and the best troops that this world has ever known, but also a country that moves with confidence beyond this time of war and to shape a peace that's built on the promise of freedom and dignity for every human being. We believe in a generous America, in a compassionate America, in a tolerant America, open to a dream of an immigrant daughter who studies in our schools and pledges to our flag, to a young boy on the side of Chicago who sees a life beyond the nearest street corner, to the furniture worker's child in North Carolina who wants to become a doctor or a scientist, an engineer and an entrepreneur, a diplomat, or even a president. That's the future we hope for. That's the vision we share. That's where we need to go forward. That's what we need to do. And that's why we need to go. Now, you will disagree sometimes fiercely about how to get there, as more than 2 centuries, progress has come in fits and starts. It's not always a straight line. It's not always a smooth path, but the recognition that we have common hope and dreams won't end on the gridlock, resolve all our problems, or substitute for the painstaking work of building consensus and making the difficult compromises needed to move this country forward. A decade of war is ending. A long campaign is now over, and whether I have earned your vote or not, I have listened to you. I have learned from you, and you have made me a better president. And with your stories and your struggles, I'll return to the White House more determined and more inspired than ever about the work there is to be do and the future that lies ahead. Tonight, you voted for action and not politics as usual. You elected us to focus on your jobs, not ours. And in the coming weeks and months, I am looking forward to reaching out and working with leaders of both parties to meet the challenges we can only solve together. Reducing our deficit, reforming our tax code, fixing our immigration systems, freeing ourselves from foreign oil. But this doesn't mean that our work is done. The fellow citizens In a democracy doesn't end with your vote. America has never been about what can be done for us. It's about what can be done by us together through the hard and frustrating but necessary work of self-government. This country has more wealth than any other nation, but that's not what makes us rich. We have the most strongest military in history, but that's not what makes us strong. Our university, our culture, what makes keeps the world coming to our shores. What makes America exceptional are the bonds that hold together the most diverse nation on earth. The belief that our nation destiny is shared. That our country can only works when we accept certain obligations to one another and to future generations, so that the freedom which so many Americans have fought for and died for come with responsibility as well as rights, and among those are love and charity and duty for and patriotism. And as I saw just on the other day in Mentor, Ohio, where an old father told about his 8-year-old daughter whose long battles with leukemia nearly cost their family everything. Had it not been for the healthcare reforms passing just a few months before the insurance companies was about to stop paying for their care, I had an opportunity to not just talk to a father but meet his incredibly daughter of his. And when we spoke to the crowd listening to the father's story, every parent in that room had tears in their eyes because we knew that little girl could be our own. And I know that every American wants her future to be bright. That's who we are. And tonight, despite all the hardships we have been through, despite all the frustrations of Washington, I've never been more hopeful than about our future. I'm not talking about blind optimism, the kind of hope that just ignores the enormity of the task that ahead or the roadblock that stands in our path. I'm not talking about wishful idealism that allows us to just sit on the sidelines or shirk from a fight. In America, I believe that we can build on the progress we have made and continue to fight for new jobs and new opportunities. I believe that we can make the promise of our founding, the idea that if you were willing to work hard, it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from or what you look like or where you live. It doesn't matter whether you are a black or white, Hispanic or Asian or Native American, or a young or old, or rich or poor, able, disabled, grey or straight. You can try to make it here in America if you are willing to try. I believe we can seize this future together because we're not as divided as our politics suggests. We're not cynical as the pundits believe. We are greater than the sum of our individual ambitions, and we remain more than a collection of red stars and blue stars. We are forever will be the United States of America. And together, with your help and God's grace, we'll continue the journey forward and remind the world just why it is that we live in the greatest nation on earth. Thank you, America. God bless you. God bless these United States.